Welcome to the Euro League podcast at sportsbet.io, where we are previewing the big leagues in Spain and Germany. And right now, with our good friend Daniele Veri, it is all about Italian Serie A. And our timing is perfect because we've got a big game this weekend. It is the Milano derby. It is Inter versus AC Milan. And my very first question to you, my friend, quite simply is, who is going to win this one?
I mean, it's impossible to say with 100% certainty who's going to win, but there's a fair chance that Inter can make it. I mean, independently of the Champions League, their result in the Champions League, they are, and independently also of the draw they go against Monza, an expected draw last weekend, they are the best team in Italy. They've got a better squad. And they won the last 6 derbies against AC Milan, 5 of which last season. They are better off in terms of everything. We've seen AC Milan losing badly in the Champions League against Liverpool without any spirits, without fighting. Fonseca, again, in danger of losing his job if he loses another game. But, I mean, it also depends on the way you lose a game. You can fight and lose a game, which will be understandable against Inter, against Liverpool. Wouldn't be a problem, but you can't lose the way AC Milan did in the midweek against Liverpool, conceding 2 corner kick goals without fighting. After the second goals from the Reds, the game was over. The Reds, after 70 minutes, they had 19 shots to 2, and they were playing away. So there was a lack of grit that I'm not the only one who has seen it.
As you mentioned as well, if AC Milan do lose this, it will be 7 consecutive defeats at the hands of Inter. There does tend to be quite a number of draws floating around for both these sides at the moment. Inter Milan are coming off that disappointing 1-1 draw away at Monza, where basically the excuse has been, well, actually, we got too distracted by the Champions League and we got too distracted by the Milan derby. And that's why, the likes of Calhanoglu, Barella and Bastoni were still on the bench and they never featured at all. They were rested, because it's almost like, doesn't matter, we don't have to really turn up for Monza and we'll turn them over. And actually, to be fair, it was one of those where they could have lost that game because obviously they fell behind in minute 81. So there is a little bit of something from that game because at least they didn't lose it. But as we're talking right now, we know what AC Milan did in the Champions League, but we don't know what Inter did because they're actually playing at the time of recording later against Manchester City. But there's no way that AC Milan could what happens if they do lose 7 times in a row against Inter? At what point does the club say, do you know what, this just can't carry on?
Yeah, you cannot, just by wishing it, you cannot stop losing games. So you have to do something on the pitch in order not to lose the 7th derby in a row. But that would be probably a big problem for the manager because AC Milan have 1 win out of the first 5 games of the season. Calling it disappointing is the very least you can do. And the manager is the one who's responsible, let's say, for the performances of the club, and we haven't seen AC Milan performing. They won 4-0 against Venezia last weekend, but that was only probably an opportunity to push away critics and to postpone critics somehow. But the issues that we've seen in let's say in the first few games of the season were back and clear last night against Liverpool. So there is an issue there. So there's a lack of spirit, which is something that needs to be addressed.
One of the hopes for AC Milan is probably the fact that they at least play 24 hours before Inter, so they at least have a little bit more rest time to get prepared for this game than Inter, who have got a massive challenge against Manchester City, and then they've got to prepare. That's 2 colossal games for Inter Milan back-to-back. One of the problems that AC Milan have had against Inter Milan is not just the case. By the way, in terms of pricing, there is actually no price on Inter Milan. They're greyed out at the moment. They're padlocked. But AC Milan are 4.9, which tells its own story. Nearly 5 for AC Milan to win. It is a lot. It is but people will probably say, I still can't trust AC Milan at 4.9 to win, 4 for the tie. One of the problems that AC Milan have had is not just beating Inter in times gone by, it's even scoring against them. They haven't even got the best goal-scoring record against Inter, where they've lost quite a number of games to nil, so they haven't even scored. And one of the other problems that AC Milan have had is that they tend to concede quite early against Inter, and that sets the tone for the game as well. So the first thing AC Milan could do really is just be tight for the first 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and not be 1-0 down after 5-10 minutes and thinking, here we go again. It has been 2 whole years since AC Milan beat Inter Milan. That was the start of September 2022. As we're talking right now, we're mid-September 2024. As I said, there's no price in Inter Milan at the moment. There is a padlock where Inter Milan's price should be, but they are firm favourites to win this one. I'm going to push you for a score prediction on this one, Daniela. Inter versus AC Milan. What's your score prediction, please? What's you thinking?
So I predict 2-0 for Inter.
2-0. Last time there was a 2-0 between these two sides was all the way back in 2023 when AC Milan were dubbed the home side. I'm going to switch attention and go to Juventus versus Napoli, which is a kickoff on Saturday. It is 2.22 for Juventus. At the time of recording, the prices are correct. Napoli are 3.3, 3.45 for the tie. So getting some value on all the outrights on this one. What's your thinking ahead of this game?
Juventus had a fantastic debut in the Champions League after their year of absence. They beat PSV Eindhoven 3-1. Obviously, they conceded the first goal of their season, but they conceded it in injury time. They scored 3, which had been an issue in the last couple of games in Italy. Didn't score a goal in the last 2. So Juventus are coming to this game full of excitement. The same is valid also for Napoli, because after a very dodgy start against Verona on match day 1, they got 3 wins in a row. They were convincing, albeit a bit lucky, I must say, against Cagliari on last weekend, so to say. And it's going to be a nice game because there's Antonio Conte, obviously, as a topic. Antonio Conte, former Juve manager, won the title at his first attempt with the Bianconeri. Is hoping to do the same with Napoli. He mentioned the price is paid for Napoli winning the league. I mean, they don't play in Europe this season. They obviously have an advantage in that sense that they can concentrate on the league and everything. But I don't know. Let's see what happens. I mean, I was pretty sure they wouldn't win the league, but they started off well, we have to say. I mean, Napoli this season are a different club. So play differently. First of all, they play a different brand of football. They play different tactical formation. They've got Lukaku finally. Lukaku is extremely important for Antonio Conte because Napoli, when they have an issue, they play a long ball on Lukaku. Lukaku gets hold of the ball and makes his teammates come up. But I mean, he's somebody who knows his football, who has very clear ideas. He doesn't experiment too much. His brand of football is well known and he is successful. So
Juventus coming to this off the back of 2 0-0 draws in the league, but as you said, in the Champions League they did beat PSV by 3-1. So they have found their goal scoring touch. They haven't got the best of head-to-head records against Napoli, though. The last 6 meetings between these two sides, Napoli have won 4. They've lost 1, so Juventus have won 1 of the last 6, and there's been 1 draw as well. So if I push you for a score prediction on this one, as I said, the prices in this one, Juventus are 2.22, Napoli are 3.3. Bearing in mind they've got that good head-to-head record against Juventus, 3.45 for the tie. Where are you going in this one?
This is a 1-1 game, in my opinion. This is a draw. I mean, Antonio Conte will be happy with a draw in Turin, I'm sure, even if he fancies a win, but he'll be happy with the draw in Turin. He's at the very beginning of his process, you know, so it's not a club that he's been managing for whatever, 1 year, 2 years or something. So he's at the very beginning of a process, which takes time, and coming away from Turin with a point is a good result. You ask for a prediction, I say 1-1.
The tie is 3.45. Of the last 12 games they've met head-to-head in the league, there's only 1 draw. So a bit like AC Milan and Inter, where you tend to get a result in terms of someone's always winning, it's the same between these two. But that draw was at Juventus in 2022, and it was 1-1, which is the score prediction in this one. I'm going to go to one of the most interesting prices and most interesting games for most recent developments as well. And I'll let you break the news on this one. Roma against Udinese. Top of the table Udinese. They've started the season magnificently. Roma at 1.61. Udinese 4.8, which could be a very tempting price for some. 4.6 for the tie. But the breaking news from Roma today is what?
Daniele De Rossi has been sacked. The American owners of the club have arrived in Rome a couple of days ago in order to discuss things and understand the situation from close hand. The manager has been released for the good of the club, for the good of the team, in order to, let's say, resume walking on a path which has seen Roma being quite successful, so to say, since De Rossi took over from Mourinho last January. It has to be said that it didn't start off well so far. So no wins at the moment, only 3 points out of 4 games. So it's not a lot. And we haven't seen Roma performing the way we expected and performing also according to the money they spent on the market. So because Dobbik was an expensive player and Sule was an expensive player. Dybala has remained and he's an expensive player also.
Well, two wins in 10, kind of 4 wins in 15 for Roma. The stats speak for themselves, and I think you look at that and go, do you know what? I can understand that decision because, as you've said, there's a lack of patience in football now. It's a here and now industry where you're only as good as your last game, and if you've not won in your last 5, then you know, as they say, you're only 3 or 4 games away from the sack as a football manager. On the flip side of this, you've got an Udinese side who are bouncing around with all the confidence in the world ever. You know, they're top of the table, which is great. I know it's only 4 games in. We're talking about match day 5, but a good start's a good start. And not only are they winning games, but there's a bit of character about them because they were 2-0 down away at Parma and came from behind to win by 3-2. So you've got an Udinese side coming in with an absolute boatload of confidence. They haven't got the best of head-to-head records against Roma. Roma have won the last 3 games straight, but they have won here in Roma in fairly recent times. Are they just a little bit too big, Udinese, at 4.8? Because, you know what, I would rather fancy an average side with boatloads of confidence than a top quality side with no confidence, because I think confidence can sometimes make such a key difference. So are Udinese just a bit of a play here at 4.8 for you?
I mean, it's actually a gamble if you go for Udinese, because in Rome you would expect Rome to win, obviously, but football is not mathematics. So it's also a matter of moments, of situation, of trends, as you said, of faith and confidence. And Udinese have a lot of confidence at the moment.
Yeah, I just think, you know what, football is, if a team is down, kick them. That's the mentality of football, isn't it? And Roma are a little bit down at the moment. And of course, Roma's last game at home, Empoli had never won at Roma before, and then they rocked up and they won at Roma last time out. So if Empoli can do it, why can't Udinese is the question. There's certainly this Udinese side who have got character, confidence, goals, and top of the table at the moment. They could be very tempting at 4.8. I don't think many people can trust Roma at 1.61. Yeah, absolutely.
It's tempting. It's tempting.
Let me give you go on then, score prediction on this one, Roma against Udinese.
Well, we said it's tempting, so let's go for 2-1 Udinese.
2-1 Udinese. Okay, the same score that Empoli came and won at Roma. 2-1
Yeah, exactly.
Udinese.
With a bit of luck. Empoli, you probably remember, they were quite lucky because Roma also had their chances. But also Empoli had a lot of chances on that day, and it only ended up 2-1. So, I mean, football is football. If you have the chances, you have to take them.
The final game we're covering right now for match day 5 is Fiorentina against Lazio. Fiorentina are 2.34, Lazio are 3.3, 3.15 for the tie. I find Fiorentina's home form astonishing. There is only 2 sides who have come and won here recently, which is 2 defeats in 15 at home for Fiorentina. And as it happens, it's both Milano clubs. It's both Inter and AC Milan have rocked up and won here. Everybody else has had to settle for the point minimum. It's a very tough place to go. Lazio have only played one away game this season, so that they've played the vast majority of their games at home. What's your thinking on this one?
Fiorentina still need to adapt to what the new manager Palladino requests from the players. So it's a new way of playing compared to what Vincenzo Italiano was demanding, was asking last season. They scored. Look at Atalanta against the game against Atalanta last weekend. So they went up, or they went into the lead twice and then got beaten in the end 3-2. I mean, it's a game. Obviously, it can happen against Atalanta. They got plenty of quality, but I mean, if you go twice up and then you lose the game in the end, it's not very encouraging, so to say. And it's been an hard start for Fiorentina so far, in my opinion. Lazio might be without Castellanos, their goal scorer, who injured himself last weekend in a game against Verona. So it's a game for a draw, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, this is a tough game to call because both these sides are really inconsistent. Yeah. Again, with Lazio, you know, they've lost to Udinese, so you can't judge them because Udinese, you know, they've lost to Udinese, who have started brilliantly. They ended last season with a couple of draws. Lazio, one was at Monza, disappointing. The other one was at Inter, understandable. That's, you know, the thing with Fiorentina, they seem to be in that trap of, yes, we're scoring goals, but we're just conceding too many. And the disappointing thing about Fiorentina was the fact that the way that they were almost minutes away from winning the first half against Atalanta and went in 3-2 down at half time. Sometimes it's not the defeat that can hurt you, it's the manner of the defeat. To be literally on the stroke of half time leading 2-1 and then going at half time 3-2 down, that's a real sucker punch. So Fiorentina have got to pick themselves up from that. But their home form is very good, Fiorentina, albeit too many draws. But it's an entertaining place to go, Fiorentina, because if you want goals, albeit a 0-0 against Venezia at the start of the season, you're getting 2-2s, 2-2s and 5-1s and all sorts. It's a place of goals.
Exactly. I wanted to say this might be a game for both clubs, both teams scoring at least one goal, because especially if Castellanos recovers for the weekend, ahead of the weekend, this could be a game where I can see both clubs scoring.
Well, this is a happy hunting place for Lazio. They've won previously here 3-0 and 4-0, where they've kept a clean sheet. But actually, for the first time in a while, Fiorentina came from behind to beat Lazio last time out. Now, I know that you have to be careful with this because I do believe that your partner is a Fiorentina fan. So if I ask you for a score prediction, that's correct, isn't it? Yes. So, yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Fiorentina to win then.
But she doesn't see that. She doesn't understand.
So if you're going for a draw in this one, and I think you're leaning towards a draw in this one, it's not going to be 0-0, is it? Famous last word. Are you expecting goals?
No, it's not going to be 0-0 in my opinion, because I mean defenses are not that tight. We said on both sides, so I can see it ending 1-1 maybe.
Okay.
Let's go for 1-1. Let's go for even 2-2. Although I might see Fiorentina scoring 2 and Lazio struggling to score 2. But I mean, let's see.
The last 0-0 between these two sides was all the way back in 2013, so we are talking 11 years since there was it was a nil between these two.
We weren't born.
So Fiorentina against Lazio, 2.34 Fiorentina. The tie is actually 3.15, which is tempting. So that's a look at 4 of the biggest games for Matchday 5 in Serie A. All it remains for me to say is thank you for your time, Daniel. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And whatever your bets are, pleasure, my friend. Whatever your bets are, please always do gamble responsibly.